So you think that young adults today should have access to contraceptives?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, and excuse me for
Yeah.
tagging on to your end here, but I absolutely agree with you. Although we know information doesn't really change behavior. You don't want people to fail to have access to information about contraceptions or things like that, but you also don't want people to believe that safe sex, contracepting sex, sex with a condom is equal to the benefits that you get from sexual self-control. Now, I never use the term abstinence because I know that people think of abstinence education as just say no, grit your teeth, squish those hormones down, grin and bear it, there's nothing you can do about it, and wait it out until you're 30. I didn't get married till I was 41. I can't even imagine if that had been the message I was given that I would have made it. There's not a snowball. Now, I didn't make it. Let me clarify. I did not make it as someone who had been a virgin until I was 41. That would not be an accurate statement. But I was sexually abstinent, even though I don't use that term. I practiced sexual self-control until from 31 to 41.
So you use self-control instead of abstinence?
Absolutely. It is a health lifestyle in the same way as not smoking or not drinking or not doing other risk behaviors. You use exactly the same techniques. You have a positive goal in mind, positive health. It is a series of skills that teach you how to cultivate a relationship. And all of those things, sexual self-control can actually benefit, where just using contraception or just using condoms is only going to protect you from physical consequences. It will not help you develop relationship skills. It will not help you be able to evaluate whether or not someone's character is appropriate to be someone that you would spend your life with. None of those things can happen if your focus is on just avoiding the physical consequences.
Do you mean that someone that's abstaining isn't in sexual self-control?
Not everybody who abstains has sexual self-control. That's exactly what I mean, and good for you picking up on it. That's a fact. There are a lot of people who claim that they are abstinent because they do not have vaginal intercourse. In my book, that's not abstinent behavior. If you are having anal sex or oral sex, that is not abstinent behavior. It's extremely risky behavior. Sexual self-control is recognizing that sex is wonderful and powerful, and it will make you stupid. You will not think clearly about relationships, about people, about you let your feelings make all your decisions. I mean, it's crazy. But when you recognize, wait a minute, this is a really powerful thing and I shouldn't play around with it, I should have some skill to be able to manage those feelings and redirect them, then you are going to be making better health decisions.
So then what is your position on contraceptives? What does safe sex really mean?
Safe sex isn't very safe. I mean, to me, I want risk elimination. I mean, if you are using, say, condoms to avoid getting pregnant, there's been studies out recently that show 1 out of every 5 couples that are living together using condoms to avoid pregnancy, 1 out of every 5 of them get pregnant in the first year. That, to me, isn't very safe. If you can still contract sexually transmitted disease, I'm confident you talk about this all the time, if you can still contract sexually transmitted diseases from skin-to-skin contact, and a condom is not going to prevent the spread of herpes or prevent the spread of HPV, then you're not really safe. So what are you safe from? Pregnancy. If used consistently and correctly with every single sexual act and they don't break, leak, slip, tear, have holes. Well, I'm sorry. I work with teenagers. I've seen their rooms. When they're told to clean their rooms, there's a lot of vagary in that. There's a lot of open to interpretation in that. And that's why with teenagers, they have a failure rate of almost 30%. That's 1 out of every 3 times somebody gets pregnant. That's not very safe. And I think that that's misleading to even use that term. If I say to you, Cynthia, you'll be safe as long as you use a condom, your heart won't be safe, your mind won't be safe, you will still bond at an emotional and chemical level. Is that the kind of safety that a responsible person would offer you? I don't think so.
You said that 1 out of 6 girls get pregnant before finishing high school,
That's
right? And with abortion methods, free sometimes, do you think that this encourages girls to have unprotected sex, Dr. MacDonald?
Because abortion would be free or low cost, you mean?
Right.
No, I don't think so. I think that's probably the biggest decision that most women would ever have to make, is having an abortion. And so I think part of this is to have people pre-think what they're doing, which is really hard, and I give you a lot of credit. If you work with teenagers, you know, they have the magical thinking, it won't happen to me.
Yes.
You know, I'll be lucky. You know, I can drink and drive, and I can do things, and I can have sex. And so their brain isn't developed, their life experiences isn't. I don't think that that's one of them. The work that I've done with teens, you really have to get them to deal with their feelings on this to see what the consequences would be. Because classes for pregnant teens in high schools, they all want to keep their babies, and they think anyone who would give them up would be terrible. But I make them put lists of what they want out of life and what they would want for their child, and they see it doesn't match. And only then, when they emotionally confront the fact that they are not prepared to do this is after the fact when they are pregnant. But I think if we could get that kind of experiential types of things, so they could think about it and really think about these issues, that's the hard, because we're really fighting a tidal wave between TV and the internet and the peers.
They get one message in school.
It's about sex. It's overwhelming. And so we're in the old days, you know, the wait till you're married had a lot of more common religious backing and such.
More support.
And there wasn't many options. If you got pregnant, you went away for a while. You did not go to high school. Your life was severely limited in many ways. So most of that is gone. What I guess surprises me, in a sense it shouldn't, but is how casually some of the people talk about having babies and having sex and with like their boyfriends. They may have another child, and I just gently say that I think the priorities are switched. Is that I think that child would prefer to have several parents who are committed to being there for the rest of his or her life, rather than, because the magical thinking is that, you know, he'll be around. I said, no, he'll leave skid marks as he goes.
Absolutely.
Right, right. So.
And part of that is because of the way teens process through the emotional part of their brain. The amygdala is more fully developed than the prefrontal cortex, the part of their brain where they can understand long-term consequences. It's just not developed.
And I think the society we live in also today is an instant gratification one, more than ever before. And so all the connections, I believe we're really too much connected, but the connections, the internet, eHarmony, I mean, in a variety of ways, people think that we'll just sort of find the person, you know.
Instantly. And it'll last forever.
Quick, and sex goes along with that too, that we'll just kind of hurry things along by having this. And I say, if anything, it usually works against it when you're young.
And then you want to say, okay, you have not controlled a single sexual impulse you've had since you were, let's say, 16. Every opportunity that you had to have sex, you had sex. And one day you're going to put a little piece of metal on your finger and you think that you will have the ability to be faithful to this person. Well, let me tell you, I am a married woman. I have never met a married person who did not say, I still have sexual thoughts about other people even after marriage. This is not a force field. If you don't learn how to control that before marriage, how in the world can you expect to be faithful after marriage?
Dr. MacDonald, where do you think the most influence comes from?
In our society? Yes. Well, I've done research over the years, about 17,000 students involved, and mostly the modal category, about 40-something%, 41 or so, get it from friends, sexual knowledge. Parents, maybe 2 or 3. They usually fall up around there. But when you talk about what's the most valuable source, parents go down to number 5 or 6, and pretty small. We're talking about single digits. So parents really haven't done the job. It would be great if they did. I always ask the students who had a good sex education in their home, did it make you more or less responsible? And they all say more. So dealing with this doesn't make someone go out and do it. I mean, I know you covered this with your teens.